Hello, everybody. Today we are unpacking the startup incubators. Uh, what are they? How they work? How to get in? And what happens when it works brilliantly? And for this first part, before I introduce my today's guests or let them introduce themselves, let's start on the high heels. Let me show you a short video I recorded yesterday with Tony Ulchar. Uh, as he couldn't join us live today on how he sees incubators and how did they help them.
Hello, Tony. Give us the one-liner. What is Sportbot and what's unique about it?
So Sportbot is the world's first moving tennis ball machine. This means it can move throughout the entire tennis court and simulate a real match scenarios, unlike any other ball machine on the market right now.
So the problem that you see on the court that a normal ball machine couldn't solve was this, that it could move.
So actually, the realization became clear during the pandemic. When we had those crazy restrictions, we weren't able to play with other people. But as a tennis player, I still wanted to continue playing tennis. So I rented some of those ball machines that were on the market at the time. I quickly saw that while they were good for improving technique, improving footwork, there wasn't much more to it than that. I wanted more. I wanted to practice advanced shot combinations. I wanted to simulate a real match, right? I want to prepare myself for my next opponent. So that's kind of how the idea was born. I was looking at, as a mechanical engineer at the time when I was studying it, I looked at the current machines and I saw that there's much to be improved. So this kind of put me on a journey to create the Sportbot.
Excellent. So how did you go from the idea to working prototype to first paying users? What step changed the game?
So there was a lot of failed prototypes, a lot of experimenting, a lot of learning. But the real breakthrough was when I showed the prototype on my local tennis court here in Slovenia. I got really good feedback. And at that point, I kind of realized, okay, maybe there's much more to it than that. Okay. So I started collaborating with people and with organizations and incubators and so forth. And after that time, we opened the first pre-orders. And these pre-orders were successful, not only in Slovenia, but also worldwide. So that's kind of how it started. Yes.
Excellent. So the incubator ecosystem, how does it fit into this story? What did it help you that you couldn't do alone?
For me, it was a crucial step because I'm sure it's very similar to software, but in hardware, there's quite a lot of complexity, and you need a team to make a product for the market. Okay, it's completely one story to make a prototype that barely works, right? And it's just there for showing. But when you get the pre-orders in, when people put trust in you, then you need to deliver them a quality product. And this is where you need to collaborate with other people who have the experience that you do not have. So for me, it's been crucial to connect with incubators here in Slovenia, who have not only helped me with their experience, but also taught me a lot of things and kind of what are the pitfalls, what are the challenges that are going to happen also in the future, so we can prepare better for them.
Excellent. And now it's interesting. Your platform become the base for Lexus's new signature shot machine. And how does it happen? And what did you have to upgrade to meet their specifications?
It's actually a question that I've always asked. I wonder what it would be like to play against myself. Today I got to live that experience.
Lexus challenged us to build a robot to mimic the styles of professional tennis players. So we developed the signature shot. It's the dream team of human and AI intervention
most unique things has the ability to move like a crab almost to the side and in any direction. It didn't miss a shot. That's a great serve, Alfie. And this is definitely the classiest and slickest ball machine I've ever got on this. He's done me. That's an Alfie Hurter shot, that. I'm going to see this thing in my nightmares.
Yeah, so this is it is still a very interesting project. So we partnered up with Lexus. Yes, they have very big ambitions here in tennis right now. So they chose our platform because it's the most modern and suitable for the future, right? So our goal was not to just make a better ball machine, but as my vision was from the pandemic times, is to recreate people, is to recreate tennis players, real tennis players, their match styles and so forth. So this is the trend where technology is going, and we wish to be there at the forefront of it.
Excellent. What would be 3 things you tell another hardware founder on validation, partnership, intellectual property?
This is, hardware is usually done by technical people, right, including me. So by profession, I'm an engineer, and it's really hard for us to put something out that it's not 101% perfect. Mm-hmm. So this is really a crucial step. Of course, you need to put out quality products, but you also need to validate that your time is well spent. So the first prototypes, which we advertise, they're prototypes, we put as soon as possible out, because when you put the product out, you can see the feedback and you can improve upon it. I think it's really important that the company, the founder, and the team communicate this with the users, right? So they know this is like a pilot project, this is a prototype, and so forth. This attracts the right first customers and also makes everything more transparent. So in our case, we were very transparent that these are first machines, this is a new technology, there may be problems and so forth. So we actually had a lot more people in the team, and these were the customers. So they helped us improve the product, and now we have a very stable product, which was built actually by the customers. And then they also kind of guide you into future developments and so forth, what they would like to see in the future.
Excellent. How about the intellectual property?
Intellectual property is, it's of course very good, but it's also very difficult for hardware, at least in my experience, because you need a lot of funds. You need a lot of funds to protect your inventions. So here we do have some grants for with the government and so forth, but these are usually not enough, because for bigger protections you need quite a lot of money, and it's quite challenging to compete with other established players. But yes, if you have the funds, of course, that's important to protect.
So do you have any interesting stories about how SportBot helps players or coaches?
Yes, I mean, we have a lot of interesting stories, but maybe the most interesting one was meeting Roger Federer. This was in Sicily. I knew a coach. He was one of our first supporters. His name is Marco Roccella. He was a head of a luxury resort in Sicily, in Italy. And one day he called me, "Tony, you don't know who has a reservation in our resort. It's Roger Federer. Would you like to come and let's present the machine to him?" And of course, I was ready for it. I flew to Sicily, and then I was able to meet Roger there. He was there with the family, and we were able to present to Roger, Marco, and I, the SportBot division, how it's different and how we see the future of tennis training. So this was a really profound experience for everyone involved in the project at that time.
Excellent. I like that. So what's next for you, and what should a serious founder do this week to start with an incubator?
Just write to them. Right? So it's the Nike slogan, just do it. Yeah. So everyone who maybe has an idea, who wants to get their feet wet in quotes, right? They should do it because it's never been easier to build a product with all of those tools that are now out. with all of the knowledge that is available to us. So yes, of course, it's great time to create something new, to become an entrepreneur. So I advise everyone to go that route.
Excellent. How about you? What's next for you?
For us, it's we are now, of course, as you know, we are focused in tennis, but now we're also expanding to other racket sports. We already have a machine available for paddle. So this is like a combination of tennis and squash, which is very popular, the most growing sport in the planet right now. So this is for us, of course, going more broad, country-wise, and also horizontally into other sports. And future developments, it's more on the software side, analysis, and of course what we're doing with Lexus also.
So how about you? Who is Tony Ulchar?
Wow, that's a big question. I would like to consider myself a bit of a risk taker and an innovator.
Excellent. Well, thank you for this short introduction of you and your sport board, and to encourage the wannabe-preneurs to start and get their feet weak.
Yes.
Wet.
Yes.
Well, that was Tony Ulchar with his sport boat. I think it's quite inspiring. He gave us a few good clues what we can talk about. Let's start with Špela Rozman-Dolenc. She's a representative of the Ljubljana University incubator. So what do you think about Tony, and how he said that, for instance, the incubator, being the part of incubator, changed everything for him, and he advised entrepreneurs or founders, just do it, just write to the incubator. Is that the right approach to get to you?
Absolutely, that's definitely the right approach. We do scout, we do look around, but it's much easier if you come straight to us, if you need support system, help, community, and all that. And when you ask me about Tony is a really great guy, very innovative, ambitious, and although he was in the Catapult incubator because he needed a lot of help developing his product, he also joined our incubator for a little while. We help with experts and some support and community. So yeah, definitely just do it. That's the right approach. We are here. The government, the country is supporting us. So yeah, that's the right approach.
Great. Peter, can you say something about your incubator, and how do you suggest people or founders approach you?
Okay, so I come at it from a slightly different perspective. I am an outsider. I'm actually not part of the incubator team. I'm one of the quasi-volunteer coaches that work with startups. And so, so I'm based in Zurich. I've been on both sides of the table, not yet successfully as an entrepreneur, but I haven't given up yet. Quite the contrary, I'm about to start again. We have a couple of incubators. Most of them are associated with universities. So there's one here in Zurich, the Runway startup, which is really for, you have an idea and you want to get it to the point where you have your kind of first funding round. And so they'll help you at a very, very early stage. There's another one, Venture Lab, which was founded from the University of St. Gallen, or how shall I say, grew out of the University of St. Gallen, which is kind of the leading business school here in Switzerland. I came in contact with them on the other side of the table, that is, as a wannabe entrepreneur. And, they have been offering, training and mentorship to entrepreneurs for right around 20 years now. And so the idea is you get a crash course in entrepreneurship led by people who've been there and done that. And so you get very practical advice on everything from, market validation to intellectual property, picking the team, how to grow, how to look for funding. There's an awful lot that we know about entrepreneurship. And one of the things that surprises me is how few startup companies actually take advantage of that. So anyway, so those are the two programs that I'm aware of. I worked with the Runway Coach program. Last year, I was working with a company that had kind of they'd come up with a more efficient way to operate tractors, and kind of heavy machinery. And so they were in the process of developing that. They were about 5 people. Maybe 6 at the time I was involved with them. And so they were kind of having their first round of growing pains. They went to the ZHV, as we call it. That's the German abbreviation for Zurich University of Applied Sciences. And they had their Runway Incubator program. They found me, and I kind of helped them deal with their immediate challenges so that they could move on. And so that's kind of what they do. The other thing they do is they provide coaches with various bits of specialized expertise, so that kind of when you're stuck, you can go ask for help. And they do it for very, very moderate prices, at least by Swiss standards, very, very moderate prices, so that the startups can afford it. And I think they even get a certain amount that's sponsored by the school itself, so they don't actually have to pay for it.
Great. What about in US, Scott? Can you say something about your startup, and how do you deal with these things?
Sure. Yeah. So founder director of 2112 and Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. So we took over an old TV factory on the northwest side of Chicago about 10 years ago. We're looking really at a much more one intentional community for creative industries, but also a more comprehensive kind of ecosystem where we're bringing together as much as possible of the region's creative sector under one roof. And so we do have those pieces of incubation and startup support and mentors. We have 20,000 square feet of office space, over 100 member companies. That's surrounded by 140,000 square feet. That's 200 suites of recording, rehearsal, music production, film production. So really the goal is kind of this intentional community where everybody kind of initially through a music lens, but going down the line of film and fashion and sports and design and brands. Everybody makes sense to come together, interact, grow together. And then kind of most importantly, it's not just that intentional community of businesses and business support, but surrounded by all of the people that you're solving problems for. So you're getting all of your market research and a lot of sales opportunities, everything directly in the building as well. And Chicago has an incredible kind of ecosystem of these hubs as well. And so what started 15 years ago, there were some more general kind of, tech, digital tech, market agnostic hubs and incubators. In the last 10 years, really, we've defined a lot of, and we have partnerships and reciprocity with a lot of them in the region as well, focused on manufacturing, on med tech. And so, part of the strategy here is making sure that everybody is in the space that's best suited to help them grow. And then we all work together to grow the kind of the greater entrepreneurial and business ecosystem for the city.
Great. So, how do you decide who to choose, who can enter, who has I don't know, this advantage? What matters most? The deck, not the prototype in your case, but others will tell something about that. But I don't know, customer interview, economics. What is the decisive factor?
For us, it's much more community driven, where we're not really looking at the business itself, or definitely not the deck. It's one, most importantly, do we feel like we have resources to help you and to help you grow? We know that there are going to be plenty of people, and we've seen examples of this too, that they have an idea that may or may not be a great idea, but that they have the right spirit. And when they come into the community and connect and start working with other entrepreneurs, that idea will shift and that they can turn it into a successful business. So kind of step one is just making sure, kind of really going both directions. Are you a good fit for the community? And do we have the resources to help you grow?
Okay. How about you, Peter?
I was just saying, how am I going to answer that question? Because I'm on the applying side, not on the. Interestingly enough, the whole thing about just do it. So in my case, I took a shot at doing something entrepreneurial about 2 years ago, which did not work out. And so I kind of licked my wounds and went back to consulting for a bit. And in the course of my consulting, I came up with another idea of something that I'd like to develop. And one of the first things that I did was I reached out to the incubator to who I coach for. And that was Melanie Bingelli, I think is how it's pronounced in English. And she is kind of the organizer and coordinator. And she pointed me to this website to sign up for that program and to this website to sign up for that program. I sent in my applications, 2 sentences about what I'm about, and my applications were confirmed. So my impression is that we're pretty much on the same page with Scott. It's a pretty inclusive thing. At the early stages, it's not about selecting who's going to go to the next step. It's about encouraging the seeds to grow, and see what comes out of the ground and see if it's going to be something useful or promising, and the, how shall I say, the cut comes a bit later, as you start to get validation and proof that you really have a business and that you've got enough of a business that other people are willing to invest in it, either in terms of time or money. So for me, I started with an idea about 2 months ago, and I've been developing it mostly in my basement and doing targeted interviews with potential customers. And I said, for something like this, I need co-founders. Okay. And so that was, where do I get co-founders? Well, I went back to the hub and they said, well, this is what our event is October for. Would you like to speak at it? Okay. So, so I'm going to go there, I'm going to present my ideas, and maybe I'm going to get people who are interested in it, and maybe I won't. And if I do, well, then, in a certain way, I've cleared a hurdle because I've got something that people want to get excited about. And again, coming back to Scott's thing about community, the first thing about an idea is do people get excited about it, and do they want to, do they want to work on it? Do they want to work with you? And yeah, well, I was really surprised. There are people out there who want to, who would like to get involved in a startup and see that as a challenge and as a calling. And so that's really exciting. And not all of them have their own ideas. That's also kind of interesting. I didn't, that surprised me a little bit.
How about you, Spela?
Yeah, I think we're talking about the same stuff here all through the world. At our incubator community is in the center of the offering, actually, because I think that building a strong community with people who think alike, who are innovative, and who can inspire and support each other, this is probably the most beneficial, even though we offer mentorships and experts from outside and programs. I think just being like Peter said, when you don't know where to go, you turn to your hub. So that's what we're building. That's what we want to become. Now, who can become one of the community member? We decide on the person, because we are really early stage. Now we work also a lot with researchers, which means that they are even more early stage before they're gonna commercialize. And we do see the idea, but what we decide on is the person. So if we see there's a commitment, we call them coachable. If they are willing and able to accept the knowledge out there, our knowledge, the whole community, and if they take part in our activities, they're definitely in. If we have resources, again, of course, there's always a bottleneck, but yeah, they're in. Because in my experience, the ideas that they apply with, they almost always pivot, because they just had an idea and they don't know how to start it, so they contact us. We usually try to have one-on-one short sessions, either with pitch or not, it doesn't matter. We ask them questions because we want to understand who they are and what they want. but they usually pivot because later on we really push them out, because you have to get out of the building, and once they do, and once they talk with other fellow members of the community, they learn a lot and they start thinking about their idea a bit different. So in these early stages, I think idea is not so relevant. It's not irrelevant, because of course we are looking for something innovative, and the idea they propose tells something about them. But yeah, I think that the person, the team, that's the main material we can actually work with. So yeah, that's I think that's how you can get in, be very active in as part of the community.
Yeah, I think in the book Good to Great, I think Jim Collins, or who was it, that was actually a research of the 15 or 20 companies that were on the top of the companies for 15 years or more. He found out that most of them didn't end up with what they started with. They all pivot, and that's what is even more true in the startup in the early stage. But to stay with you, Spela, how does a day-to-day reality then, when they are accepted, how does that look? What does a great week look for a founder inside your program? How much, I don't know, effort, hours, or anything do they have to bring? What are some, I don't know, things that they have to do to succeed?
We actually don't have like a batch, either programs or anything. So whenever you come, you get personal, you get one of the team members a core member, and then you work with that member on the speed you would like to. That also tells us something. Some people want to meet with us every week, some every month, and so on. We also have a lot of different educational events, inspirational events, which is really good for them to take part. And we also have some programs like, I don't know, startup weekends, where they can like really jump in the knowledge from, I don't know, idea to business model or to something. So the engagement they actually really need to show is how much they want. So if they want a lot, and if they really have time and they are dedicated, yes, we can adapt. We can work faster with them. Some of them quit after a while because they lose interest, and then we clear the spot and let somebody else in. So yeah, dedication is, we do want them to be, of course, very active, and to be at least in communication with us regularly. But yeah, there's no like, I don't know, 10 hours a week. It's up to them. So sometimes they get from the mentoring session, they get a homework, like do 10 interviews. It might take 3 days, or it might take a month, because they need to come back with some insights from the market before we can continue. And right now, Robert and I, we are from the Dragon Days Festival here in Celje. This is really good experience also for all our startuppers and researchers. Just go here, mingle. They just did that. So it might be a very intense week, because then we have events and stuff. So it's up to them how much they wanna. I'm always saying that you're gonna get from us as much as you're gonna take. We offer a lot. Now you just need to take it, and you have your own mentor who can suggest what to choose, because it's not well to go to everything. But yeah, they are guided through, but they need to take it, take the opportunity, take the knowledge. Just be proactive.
Yeah. How about you, Peter?
So I'm sorry, what was the question?
How does a perfect day or day-to-day activities look like, or perfect week for a founder? How much engagement do they have to take, or is that structured, or is it like Spela said, you get what you want?
there are many variations of, here you've got a tube with something going in here and something going out there, and somehow what you get out here is directly proportional to what you put in there. And so, if you're going to do a startup, I think it requires passion and energy. And I know a lot of people, and I actually count myself in this, who've kind of had their day job and they've had something on the side that they hope someday is going to grow into something. Okay, and I don't think that's a startup. Okay, I think a startup has got focus and commitment, and somehow you've managed to find a way to muddle through without your day job so that you can work on the startup. And I think that's why university students have a tremendous advantage, because they don't have rents to pay and they don't have mortgages to pay and they don't have kids to send to school and all that sort of fun stuff that you have later in life. So, I can only think back, to my experience. The companies that I've coached, they've been funded to the point where they're professional and they think they're like any other company. That is, you go into the office, or, post-COVID, you have home office, and you got work to do. And, I think one of the dangers that when you get into that stage, one of the dangers that the companies have or people have is they think in terms of producing outputs, and not in terms of, proving concepts and connecting to customers and, really making your business model work. At the really, really early stages, for me personally, what I'm doing is, first of all, I've realized most of my clients had very little idea what it meant to be a startup. So I'm actually trying not to repeat that mistake. And I go back to, read Ash Maurya and Eric Ries and various people, who've had influence in the startup scene, and really try to profit from that wisdom. And I'm going to take Spella's inspiration. I think she said, be active and be part of the community. And I'm trying to think, how can I get my startup out of my basement and into some community location so that those kinds of things are going to start happening. And for me, everything else is about thinking about what are the problems that I have to solve in order to make my company happen. Is it validation with customers? Is it finding partners? Is it finding money? And it's really figuring out what the problem is and then getting out and solving it. And so for me right now, I think it's figuring out who the partners need to be and how I'm going to convince the partners they want to partner with me. And it's figuring out who my co-founders are going to be and figuring out how we're going to get started, even though we don't have any money yet. And so that's so as I say, it's you bring passion, you bring focus, and that brings people along. And you have an attitude of learning, and you have an attitude of identifying what's the most important thing to work on now, and then you actually do it. And there's no one to tell you to do it. And if you decide I'm tired and lazy and want to procrastinate, well, you'll be tired and lazy and procrastinate, but that's not going to help your startup very much. And so there's that battle with yourself. So I don't know. So that's kind of what, when I'm trying to be a founder, that's what my day or my week looks like.
Excellent. What about you, Scott? What's your take on this?
I would say similar take to the previous two comments, but with us, it's and we do have companies really at all stages. We have university students and pre-revenue tech. We have companies that have grown from 2 or 3 person teams to 20, 30, 40, 50 person teams and still stayed in the building. And that's kind of the vision that we have, is to be this ongoing community and ecosystem. We do always say, definitely the more you are here, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, for sure. And that's kind of the whole point of the community, but also dependent, really on where you're at and what you need. We have, because there is no formal program. We have everything that you need. If you need guidance on kind of any business topic, if you need connections, if you need the community's piece, it's all here for you. The more you tell us about what you need, the more we'll be able to connect you to it. But there are some people who have very specific needs and will join the community. And we have remote members from all over the world as well, who are really, in that sense, it's companies that are slightly further along, but they're really trying to build a presence in Chicago and connect to the local community. And it's kind of that middle step between full kind of internationalization and expansion and putting somebody, and we run programs helping international companies break into the U.S. market as well. But there's that opportunity to join if really what you're looking for is market feedback, understanding of the U.S. market, kind of community. There's opportunities just to join and plug in certain ways that make specific sense to you.
Okay. So what do you say, Scott, is the most devastating mistake startup do?
I think what we see the most, and probably, I mean, this is all industries, but I think it's slightly more prominent sometimes in the creative sector, especially with music, is not doing that initial market research. I think especially in music industry, a lot of companies, a lot of founders will have their personal experience and say, I'm a music fan. I'm going to solve this problem for the music industry, and they don't go and talk to people first. And they spend a lot of time working on something. And sometimes it's like, that's actually not a problem. I just use this platform and it's fine. Or it is a problem, but you can't necessarily solve it the way that you wanted to or thinking of because of these aspects of the entertainment industry that you don't understand. Yeah, that's what we definitely see most commonly.
And it's actually in today's times when you have social platforms and artificial intelligence, you can do this research really in a blink of an eye and pretty accurate. So it's basically just, I don't know, laziness.
Yeah. I think combination of laziness, but also not really. Some people they don't realize that they need to do it because they think that they already have the answer.
Okay, what do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I was going to underline that and say, what I've seen happen a number of times is you get a startup and then they hire some people who are, former employees of much more established companies. And the problem you have with an established company is you got lots of money and you can afford a marketing machine and you can turn on the fire hose and whoosh and that will often make your business work. Whereas with a startup, you generally don't have the resources to do that. And somehow you need to be noticeable and remarkable and make a difference. And you have to connect to your customers in new ways. And so what I've noticed is, first of all, a complete lack of awareness that there are things that you don't know and a lack of interest in learning. Okay. And that's really deadly because, Spella was talking about, are they coachable? And if they're not interested in learning, they're not coachable. And if they're not coachable, they're going to have a very, very, very hard time. When I've seen organizations a little bit further down, especially those that kind of emerge out of universities, and you've got a couple of researchers and they have this great piece of technology that they want to develop, and they're really very happy to develop the technology. And as long as the money is there, they kind of don't really care whether it sells or not. And so you don't have that focus on finding what is really that viable product. What are people actually going to buy? And the term that they used, and I think Eric Ries coined it, I'm not positive on this. They talk about a problem worth selling. And what they told us, a problem worth solving. And what they told us at Venture Lab is that ain't good enough. You need a problem that demands solving. And if you don't have a problem that demands solving, no one's going to care enough to actually look at the solution. And so you got to really iterate and make sure that you're solving a problem that needs to be solved. And even then, just because you've got the problem doesn't mean that you have the solution. And so that's kind of where the pivoting comes in. What they told us in the startup class is that the number one reason startups fail is they run out of money, but that's a symptom, not a root cause. The root cause is the lack of connecting to a problem that demands solving. And the reason they don't do that is, well, they've got their baby, they love their baby, and it doesn't even occur to them that not everyone thinks that their baby is as beautiful as they think it is. And so sooner or later they run out of money and they have to start over. So if I were going to turn that into some advice, or kind of what is the what does the entrepreneur need to know? The entrepreneur needs to know there's a lot of things that they don't know, and it starts with about how to be an entrepreneur, and it starts about who is the customer and what do they really want and do they really want it, and all the stuff about the proof, and just always assume the worst. Always assume that your assumptions are wrong, and they got to come back to bite you. You always got to look for proof. And I say this as I'm reflecting on kind of my own efforts to do market validation. And I thought, man, I've gotten really great confirmation from everybody I've talked to, but everybody I've talked to is either a friend or a friend of a friend or a existing customer, someone who already has a relationship with me. So they all kind of fail the mom test. My mom loves me. She'll give me time. She'll encourage me, but she's not a customer. And so I'm thinking, yes, my next, the next assumption that I have to challenge is, do I really have the validation that I think I do? And somehow I need to expand the circle of who I'm talking to a broader audience, a more anonymous audience, someone who, doesn't really care about me one way or the other, but therefore their opinion is going to be more unfiltered. So as I say, appreciate there's a lot of stuff that you don't know, and be hungry for learning is where I would take that.
I love that. And as I'm working with startups, I like working with startups because they have this energy. But I always say, like you said, validate it with not just the mother approach, but also with who will put the money on this. And you can do this easily with the pre-sale. You can pre-sell the promise. You can pre-sell it for $1.
Right.
It's big difference between $0 and $1. And
Right.
if you can sell it, you have the real validation. Until they open the wallet and put the money on it,
I like that. I'm going to start asking, when I pitch my idea, I'm going to ask them, would you like to have your first ticket for $5 or something like that?
Yeah. That's what makes difference. Yeah. And I like to think there are two words in English that are the most dangerous words, and these are "I know." Because when you think you're already wrong. Okay, let's go to Spela. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything said so far, but I would say that the crucial mindset should be shifted from being in love with your idea to being passionate about it, your idea. I mean, I think we said it several times already. Yes, we are looking for a passionate, dedicated innovators who are going to drive this innovation to the market. But a lot of times we see people who are in love with their idea and therefore very uncoachable, unwilling to hear the truth. Because you said you mentioned that now you can do the market research with AI and all that. Yeah, if I ask Google, is the Earth flat? Yeah, I'm gonna get some information. The Earth is flat, and what they really need to do is we call them try to find why you shouldn't do it more on a depressing way. But if you can prove it, that after all you've tried finding why you really shouldn't do it and you still haven't got any indication that you shouldn't do it, then maybe you're on the right way. Because I think a lot of startups or the idea holders, before they even found the company, they are really sure they're on the right track. But they weren't really talking about it. They're developing the idea in their room with maybe some Google and some chat AI right now or stuff like this. But what we're trying to convince them is go out, talk to people, try to convince yourself that you might not be on the right path. I don't want to sound very demoralizing, but you need to be out of the building, because that's how the huge ideas are born. And how how was it said before, problems demanded to be solved, not just needed or wanted to be solved. We work a lot with researchers, because there's a lot of researchers, they usually are looking for something new, for something out of the boundaries. It's not always needed, but what we were coping with for past few years is every researcher says, yeah, once I'm going to develop this technology to I don't know, TRL6, it's going to sell itself. No, it's not going to sell itself. You have to talk to people. You have to make technology a product that people really desire and they need. even though technology might be able to do so much more, yeah, maybe it's not the right time right now, but you can do further steps in advance. But be real, be fair to yourself. I think a lot of them are in love with their idea, and they just see cards, and they don't want to face the truth sometimes. So I think that's the crucial mistake. You have to be you have to dare to find no's.
Absolutely. So, what would be one myth about incubators that will want to kill today? Spela.
Oh my God. I was hoping I'm not going to go first. I don't know what's the myth. I
No,
don't know.
nothing.
No. Maybe Robert, you can tell me what you thought about the incubators when you first started. You can give me some
Oh,
leads.
well, I think I thought it was hard to get in, and
Mhm.
there are two. I don't know. Two. Like how does it say? Not too. Not enough hands-on to things. Too academical or
That's a
something
good
like
point.
that.
You
Yeah.
gave me a brilliant idea. What I think a lot of them think, and I'm pretty sure Peter faced this as well. It's like, yeah, you're all about theory. How should I do it in practice? First of all, when choosing the incubator, I think a lot of incubators, most of them, they have some specific. Like Scott has a creativity music stuff, so I won't go there with the space shuttle probably. But yeah, for the music industry, I should go there. Same is with the Ljubljana University Incubator. We are pretty much in general, but we are one of the best, if not the best in the region, to be able to support the deep tech, somebody who's trying to convert their technology into product and commercial product or service or on the market. So yeah, you need to look what the incubator has like a vision or mission and find the right one, because maybe not all of them are fit for you, but if you find the right one, you probably will be fit. And people and approaches are not only theoretical, then you can have a very hands-on experience, because our power as incubator is in people like Peter, in coaches we can reach out, because one of our startups needs a special help. I don't know, we also have a really strong vertical on health, well-being, health, all this sector. There's a huge regulation question every time. So yeah, now we have some experts we can turn them to. We even have the budgets to pay for several hours of consulting, and they know how to help them, because they've helped several others already. But if somebody comes for the, I don't know, some other, maybe different industry, we might not be the best fit. That's why if we go back to the video from the beginning, we also worked with Tony from Sportbot, but we were good in some cases, but Catapult with their very product orientated development programs, and also they have a lot of machineries, a lot of support, they are much better fit. So yeah, choose the right support, the right community for your needs. So yeah, and I think a lot of bad words come from the incubator because you might not be in the right one.
Excellent. How about you, Peter?
I've been chewing on this question, and the first question that I asked myself is, well, what are the myths about incubators? And I'm not really sure that there are any out there, to be quite honest. I don't think the concept is really well known. If I were going to say, if I were going to offer a candidate myth, is that the incubators are only in Silicon Valley. Okay, and the goal of a startup is to be $1 billion. Is a priori to be $1 billion exit on the American stock exchange. And I've actually come to realize incubators are everywhere, and there's help everywhere. And you can kind of start with where you are. And the Americans get all the publicity, but the work can be done here as well. And if you look closer, you see that there actually are, a number of successful companies here, that aren't 100 years old, that have been started in the last, 20 years or 10 years or even 5 years, and that you can really do it here. And so, yeah, I think that would be, and maybe what we need is more books about startups in Europe, and not have all the books be written by Americans. Somehow they only talk about stuff that happens over there. But there's a lot going on here too. And, and as I say, some of the things that are surprisingly successful. One little statistic I picked up is that the investments in Europe tend to be smaller than in the US. But the chances of their succeeding, that is having a successful exit as opposed to becoming a zombie or becoming a failure, is actually, you have better chances in Europe. The chances of a failure or becoming a zombie is lower in Europe than it is in the States. So the Americans make bigger bets, but we make more successful bets. So that's, I don't know, that probably says something about the strength of the incubator community in Europe as well, that we come better prepared.
Yeah. Scott?
Yeah, so I think on the myth side, from what we've seen, probably from our community, the only thing I can think of really directly there is that thought of, by joining a community, by joining an incubator, that something is going to automatically happen to help your business. It's rare for us, but we have seen that where a company will come in, they don't participate, they don't respond. We're trying to connect them, and then a few months later, like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this. And I said, of course you're not getting anything out of it because you haven't participated. But sometimes there is this, like, I think this concept in the back of some founders' heads where it's like, well, I joined the incubator and now things should just be happening for my business without me putting the effort in. And I think kind of echoing Peter's comments as well, the idea that there's also not one specific path. Having a tech company does not necessarily mean raising venture capital. It does not necessarily mean growing, scaling, selling. We have, and that's a big part of what we do when we sit down with our founders and go over short and long-term goals. It's, what do you want this company to be, and we'll help you get there. And there's some people in the community that we have that have a 5-person team, and they want to keep it that way, and they want to be comfortable, and they want to focus on their family and run a successful business. And if that's your goal, there's nothing wrong with that.
Great. Now we have talked about this quite a lot, but I'll still want some more about what would be the number one behavior of the founders, or traits or things of the founders who thrive in your programs? Scott?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one?
What would be the number one trait or behavior of the founder to thrive in your program?
Again, probably depends on the company, the industry, and also a lot of what we have talked about. But I think that the combination of the passion, the openness to collaboration, to finding the right team, and learning what you don't. Yeah, I think most of it's been kind of covered.
Okay. Peter?
Yeah. For me, it kind of comes back to the thing about coachability, which is also about openness to new ideas and openness to the idea that, how shall I say, being pushed out of your comfort zone. The idea that things that you don't think are true might actually be true, or that you might actually be wrong. This whole process of learning, and seeking validation, kind of the assumption is that your assumption is wrong. You always, every time you make an assumption, you got to be willing to add this little appendage, but I could be wrong. And we need to really go out and look for confirmation that you're not wrong, that you're actually right. And so I think it's, there's definitely a component of drive and self-confidence and perseverance, in the face of, overwhelming odds, that you need to have. But you still need to have the humility to say, yeah, but I could be wrong on this, and be open to learning new information. And that doesn't mean you're going to pivot every time you hit a crosswind or a headwind, but it means you're open to the idea that, well, maybe this is the wrong track and we need to do something different. And let's look at the situation and figure it out. And so, treat it as a problem solving and a learning, rather than, oh, well, we got our product, let's push it out there. We just have to push harder, and, sooner or later someone will buy it.
Great.
So coachability.
Spela?
Sorry, Spiel, I stole your word, but it's a great word, so I just had to use it. You're muted, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, very useful word. Just use it. No problems. I would go a bit different direction. Like you said, I would go like what we as incubator would like in a perfect pupil or student, if I go this way. So we have different kinds of activities in the incubator. It's like events, like mentorship, experts from the outside, some programs which are like more a longer periods of time learning something to get from one point to the other point. Then we have some networking events. We have some, maybe right now we just had business to research meetings. So at the end of the day, I would say just read our newsletter. Because we do inform them, but they just they don't want to see about, I don't know which, I don't know about intellectual property. They miss the workshop or a program, and then next week they come to the session one-on-one. Can you explain me more about the intellectual property? It's like, we would really like them to be able to combine. I know it's not so personalized, but we can do a lot of coaching personalized, but then you miss out on all the knowledge is out there on the events that are also meant to give you some knowledge, and on the programs. Plus, what I really think is that being in the same room with people, now we're going back to the early words when we used community, just being there. Like we have, I don't know, the whole weekend programs with startups who are already on the market, and they are on the different levels of development. Some just started, some might be already hiring and have like 10 people. But they usually see, oh, I'm not going to fit there, but they can so much benefit one from another as well. It's just not just my knowledge, but you multiply it by the time how many participants are there, because they always they challenge each other, they talking, they have connections. So I think our perfect student would be the one who shares their concerns and needs with us, so that we can actually provide the right activities there, and then we would like them to attend them. Because we bring the good people, sometimes even from abroad. We bring the really good people on the events because I had somebody in mind, or somebody from our team had somebody in mind who needs that, and then that person doesn't come. So I think just being now here present and take whatever we are offering, that would be a perfect student. I know that's not realistic from us to expect, because life is out there, either a private or they already have a business and they are on a business trip or something else. We absolutely understand that, but they would definitely benefit more if they would track what we're offering all the time, not just the one time I'm saying you should be there because you need this.
Great. I'll share something that we talked yesterday with Tony. Uh, he said, and that's, I don't know, somehow universal, that you get luckier and luckier more effort you put into something. And you don't get luckier lying on the couch at home. So if you go out on the event, perhaps people you met, perhaps an idea you get from talking to others, from getting out of your comfort zone, is that thing that could move the needle. And early in my career, I'm an IT guy, and we were talking to one guy, and he said to me, there are three things you have to do to always have a job as an IT guy. First thing is to deliver good code, good programs, to deliver on time, and be easy to work with. And as I was working, I find out that only two of them are really necessary. You can be only easy to work with. And for instance, Tony, like he said, when he heard that Roger is on Sicily, he he hasn't even think about not going there. It was absolutely clear for him, I'm going on the plane and meet him there. And that's the mindset of the entrepreneur, and he's the most easy person to work with I ever met. As I approached him for this podcast a few days ago, he said, "Okay, I can't be there." I said, "Okay, can we shoot a quick video before?" No problem. When, you know, easy, no complications. Oh, I can't then. I can then just go and make the steps we need to make. Okay, let's get into this a little further, a little more in detail. Is there a KPI that you can watch to find in the founder or entrepreneur that predicts the future success? Spela.
I would coachability. I would really hard to say it's a recipe you can just like or a check boxes. You can just say, okay, he's like this or she's like that. I don't think it's really there because also the market changes. From rising to falling, wars and all of this stuff. So there's actually not. I wouldn't say there's a recipe. I'm looking forward what the guys will say, but unfortunately I don't see the recipe. But after so many years working with them, we trust our guts.
Excellent. Peter.
So one of the questions that I like to ask when I visit a new customer, regardless of how young, how old, how big, how small the customer is, how long does it take you to make a prototype? How long has it been since you made a prototype? And how long has it been since you brought a prototype in contact with the customer? And I've been to organizations where the answers to those questions is measured in years. Okay, and I would submit that that's too slow, regardless of the size of your organization. So one of the things that with KPIs, this is a really complex problem, and this is, by the way, an area where I think that this is we talk about what can we do with AI, and using AI as a consultant for stuff like this. What are the KPIs that we could use? What are they going to help us find out? What are the things that we're worried about? How can we turn this into a KPI? This is where I would have a conversation with ChatGPT, and try to tease out something that could be useful. But having that conversation with ChatGPT is not simply ask it a question, you get the right answer. It's you have a conversation, and through the conversation, the right answer comes out. I work. One of my clients right now is anything but a startup. They're over 100 years old. They're a factory, or actually they're an industrial company, and they have lots of factories. And in their cafeteria, they have a board which is nothing but KPIs, and it starts with safety. How long has it been since we've had an accident? High numbers are better. And then they have everything from safety to quality to production to material supply to employee health and well-being, and they look at those numbers every day. So, and this is the question that I've been asking myself, what numbers do I need to pay attention to?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think those numbers are about learning, and so I would really ask yourself, think of it in the context of your business. How do we know that we're learning fast enough? How do we know that we're able to iterate on our product fast enough? And turn those into KPIs. And they're probably, exactly what they are is probably going to depend a bit on your context. But that's what I'd be looking at.
Great. Scott?
I was gonna try to quickly chat GPT and answer myself while Peter was answering here. No, I don't know. I think similar for definitely not one that stands out on determining. And when we talk about success of an entrepreneur, there's so many things involved, and it's not just the idea. Obviously, like all the fundamentals have to be in place, but it's also timing and pieces of luck involved there as well. I don't know. I would say, the other thing, I guess maybe that hasn't been touched on quite is just that full understanding of you have some people too. It's a great idea, but not really taking the time to fully understand the business side, or what does your burn rate look like, and do you have the runway, and have you planned out properly to get through and understand how long it's going to take to get to where you need to be. But yeah, other than that, I think similar to the other responses and previous comments.
Okay. I have a KPI for me that I wouldn't suggest for somebody, I don't know, developing software for aviation or something like that. And my KPI is number of fuck-ups. And if that number is too low, I'm too much into my comfort zone. And I'm really passionate about it. Now, before I give you some final thoughts, if a founder has 10 hours per week in your incubator, where and how should they spend them? Scott?
Again, would be very dependent on the needs of that specific business, but I would say, if you're going to be in the physical space, the more that 100% you should be interacting with people. If all you have is 10 hours, you should spend all of those 10 hours connecting to the community, whether that is to the mentors, to going and have conversations with the other members in the community, or attending events. And if you do have limited time, and you're spending the majority of that time on your computer, not engaging with the community, you're not going to be getting anything out of the community.
Excellent. Peter?
I'm chewing on that because I'm probably doing exactly the opposite of Scott. I'm spending way too much time on my computer, and I'm saying, wait a minute, am I the right person to be giving advice here? I think for me, particularly at the early stage, one of the interesting questions is, what is my path to profitability? Or more precisely, what is my path to break even? And break even means, can we pay the founder's living expenses without having to draw down on our savings accounts or our capital? And really trying to think, how do we get that tangible value sooner? How do we start generating actual value? I think kind of keeping that in sight and saying, what can I do to make this business a real business? So I've been kind of looking at my own. So I use I basically use a Kanban board to kind of manage my work. And I was looking at my Kanban board, and there are a couple of cards there, which have been about having conversations with potential marketing partners, which has been sitting on the to-do column for a long time. And so I'm thinking about Scott's comment about get in touch with people, get out of the office, and so my my thing is, okay, what have I done to get out of the office this week? And I would try to, my resolution going forward is to make sure that regardless of how much time I get to put into the project on any given week, some of that time has got to be out of the office, talking to potential customers, potential partners, potential suppliers. It's got to be focused on making the business real and not doing another improved version of my business model canvas. You need the business model canvas, but at some point you need the business, and so you got to make the business happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Spela?
Yeah, you guys stole all my ideas already. So now the chat time for me. No, I wanted to say exactly the same what Scott said at the beginning, but then thank you, Peter. You opened my mind a little bit. So I would say they should use them. They should be able to recognize what phase they are in. Because absolutely networking, going out of the building, just being in the community, among the users, among the payers, to understand them. But at the end of the day, if you're not gonna write the proposal, the offer, you're not gonna sell. So yeah, you need to be able also to recognize when you just need to use those 10 hours to actually do something, or either it's back to the lab developing something, or just writing the offer, the proposal to the company that might pilot your technology or something. So yeah, I would say that it really depends where you are. If you have enough insights, then you probably sometimes just need to rethink it and do it. I would say also that mingle and do it somewhere, depends on what stage you are.
Okay, so we're about the end. Any final thoughts or perhaps any questions from each one of you? Spela?
Yeah, final thoughts. Thank you for being for inviting me to this podcast. I hope we did
Welcome.
reach some people who might have heard some myths and are afraid to get in contact with us. So yeah, I really hope that we I don't know, clear the mystery about the incubators. They are welcome. They can join the events, and I would really we're looking forward to new, innovative, bright ideas out there.
Peter?
So I'm going to express an appreciation both to Scott and to Spela, especially Spela, because she just gave me a new bit of inspiration. The whole thing about it takes a team. My team needs a mingler, and that's definitely not me. So I now have some acceptance criteria for the people who I'm looking at for my founding team.
Peter, just one added. If you're looking for a co-founder, or maybe you should search the programs, like we have Labs to Market and stuff like this. So
Okay.
maybe you're welcome to go abroad and search for the.
Let's expanding horizons. Let's continue
exactly. That's what the idea here. Yeah.
Okay. I put my LinkedIn in the chat, and if you'd like to connect, let's do it. That would be cool.
Absolutely. Scott?
Yeah, no, and thank you for having me. I think going back to the very original comment here too, just reach out. So anyone who's watching sees this, I'll put my information in the comments as well. But always happy to talk. Anyone wants to learn about U.S. ecosystem in general, or business specific questions, we're very open to talking. So I'll add my info here now too.
Thank you, everyone. I think it was great conversation. I think we tackled a lot of interesting things, and if somebody is listening to us, I think they could find some useful information or hints to inspire them to join an incubator and become a successful entrepreneur. Thank you.